If you were to run your business based on the advice on YouTube, you'd walk away thinking you need to create hundreds of standard operating procedures, that every role in your business needs a scorecard and a chart that someone's going to find the time to maintain, that you need to create these boxes and triangles and arrows in order to map any process in your business, and that you really can't get anything done until you create some kind of fancy project management system with 78 custom fields that no one knows how to use. I've spent the last 7 years as a small team operations person figuring out what does it really take to run a systemized small team. We've surveyed data from over 4,000 small companies ranging from lawyers to landscapers to holding companies. And that's how we've come to the conclusion that there are actually just 4 systems that a lean team needs to make things feel way calmer. You can remember them as EDIT: execution, documentation, ideas, and team. Let's get started with execution, which I should specify is around getting shit done and not like So to start at the beginning, execution is all about being able to take things that you need to do and actually get them done. At the end of the day, if your team can execute on time and on budget for the things they say they're going to do, you can accomplish just about everything. This kind of task management is inclusive of things like client work, internal tasks, and recurring commitments, like admin, taxes, that kind of stuff. And to accomplish all of this, we don't have to be type A people, and you don't have to be super organized and have fancy software. Now, the trick to mastering this execution area, the real key to it all, is 2 things. 1, having a clear go-to area where all of the to-dos on your team lives. This has a lot of benefits, which I get into in other videos, but that's our first key ingredient here. And the second key is making sure that we have a clear definition that is shared by all people on our team, which might just be us and us on Friday, or it could be a whole team of people, of what a task actually is. So I have whole other videos on this as well, which you can find up here. But in a nutshell, we want to make sure our tasks are done by one person at one deadline to achieve one outcome in one work sitting. And that last piece, work sitting, is really key. So if you are used to working on a team where you have tasks that are something like, world peace, you might want to find ways to break those tasks into smaller pieces so they're actually achievable and manageable. If we can get a shared task system and a shared definition of what tasks actually are, this magical combination will help you nail the E of EDIT, which is execution. All right, so if execution is about what we're doing, who is doing it, and when, what, where, when, what, the next one is how. And that's what the documentation piece is all about. How do we do the things we need to do? Let's break it down. All right, so when it comes to documentation, this can scare people because you hear the word documentation and you think giant policy binder that no one is ever going to read. And while, yes, standard operating procedures can definitely be a form of documentation, I don't want you to overcomplicate this here because then we'll be just like the other guys. This policy binder is going to fundamentally change your business and it even works as a hat. I want you to think about these. If you don't recognize this because I'm bad at drawing, this is a sock. And this might just be a me thing, but when it comes to socks, it's kind of like Yelp reviews for a restaurant. They're either 1 star or 5 star. They're either your favorite pair of socks or you never want to wear them again. And you don't know until you actually wear the sock. Socks are this thing that just requires you to experience it to know what's good or bad, right? Well, that's actually a lot like how business is. When you have something that you need to do, when it's sending an invoice, hosting a sales call, delivering a service, there are certain things you just need to experience to know what you like and don't like, what works and doesn't work. And all this documentation part is about is just remembering something when you like it. But here's the thing. A lot of the times when we try something, we don't really take any time to write down what we did or why we did it. It's kind of like trying on a pair of socks, realizing you love these socks, this works so well, and then just throwing the socks in the trash. We would never do that with socks, right? But yet we do it with business. If we go into business and we have an amazing sales call where we just nail it, we ask all the right questions, the client is super happy, we make the sale, and what do? Well, we just move on. We go into the next sales call, which makes no sense. Documentation is around changing this. Rather than throwing out the socks we love, let's wash the socks we love so we can wear them again. In the same way, when we find something in business that we really love, let's write down that agenda that really helped us. Let's write a little 2-sentence note to self to say, hey, here is how I hosted this call. Here's what we should do next time. And let's actually use that the next time we do that thing rather than throwing it out. That is all this documentation part is about. Writing little 2-minute to 10-minute notes to self, or templates that make it easier to do the work you just did, based on history, not hypothesizing about a potential issue in the future. And just to be abundantly clear here, I'm not talking about long-form Loom videos. I'm not talking about 20-page SOPs. I'm not talking about a policy binder. Yes, those things can be helpful when you get to that level or if you need that level of complexity. What we're talking about here are simple bullet points, templates, notes to self, things that start making it easier to do work the next time, that accumulate over time. I have a whole lot more I could say about this documentation piece. If you want to learn more about SOPs, I'll have a video up here. I have to hold myself back to make sure I don't make this video a 5-hour video. But once we get this simple process flowing where we are easily able to experience something, make a note to self and make it easier to do that thing next time, so we're more likely to have a positive experience in the future, the better. That's how we start building up our drawer of favorite socks or our drawer of SOPs, rather than going out and buying a new pair of socks every time we need to do something. The goal of this documentation piece is not to write some kind of dusty SOP binder that no one is ever going to reference or read. It's instead about allowing you to focus your creativity on the things that actually matter. So instead of being creative and thinking, how should I send this invoice today? I can just know that last time I sent the invoice, I wrote this email. It worked well. I'm going to use that same email again. I'm not having to use my creativity on redeciding that same problem. No. I can use my creativity on the stuff that actually counts, like, filming this video. Now, once our clients master getting shit done, aka execution, and writing down how they do things so that they don't have to keep solving the same problems, a new problem usually comes to the foreground, which is, all right, we're trucking, we're doing things. And now it's starting to get a little bit overwhelming because we're doing a lot of stuff. And that's when stress starts to come in. Burnout might come in. Long hours might come in. Now that we can get things done and do them in the right way, let's make sure we're not pushing ourselves too hard, that we can't do that sustainably. That's where the idea system comes in. The systems we've talked about so far are about accumulating, adding more tasks onto your list to make sure things actually get done, and writing down how you do those things so you don't have to use your brain power on them. The idea system is about making sure the stuff on that beautiful list that we're creating actually adds value. And you might think, of course it would add value. I added it. But here's the thing. As you grow and grow and grow, this task list is going to grow with you. And just by the nature of human beings, we are going to add more to-dos. We're going to add more templates. We're going to add more SOPs than we actually need. It's just human nature. We're going to overcomplicate, bloat, and get distracted. Especially if you are someone who is high quick start or visionary, this is going to happen fast. So what this idea system is all about is about defining a threshold for which we pay attention to something. Okay, so let's say we have 50 things that we want to do. The idea system is all about drawing a line across our task list and saying, yes, we have all of these ideas, but these are the only 2 that actually matter. The idea system is about regulating the pressure in our business based on our capacity. And I know that's a little jargony, but all I'm trying to say is if you've got a lot of energy in the day and you're like, man, I can do everything. Amazing. You can move that pressure system down. You can say, hey, we're going to take on another project. We're going to work with another client. But in periods where you are overwhelmed and stressed and you don't feel like you can get anything done, this idea system is about saying, all right, actually, we just need to get this one thing done. Ignore everything else for now. The idea system is about focusing and saying that everything that we could do doesn't necessarily need to be done. And even if it all needs to be done, it doesn't need to be done now. The key to the idea system is really answering 2 questions continuously. I like to ask these on a weekly or every other week schedule. And the questions are, what's next? And why would we do that now? In other words, focus and pacing, pressure and direction. Balancing those 2 is the job of this system. And the way the system tends to work is through some kind of regular cadence, whether it's weekly or every other week or every month. We set up this kind of review and planning cycle for making sure the right things are ending up on our actual focus list. As with all of these practices, this is not some kind of revolutionary new thing. You might have heard of this ideas list or backlog or parking lot concept before, but the reason you've heard of it before is because it is tried and tested and it really works. The thing I have seen people fail at, though, is they make this a passive experience. They have this list of here's all the things we could do, but then there's no interaction with it. You're not reviewing it. And so if we really want to make this into an idea system, as opposed to just an idea dust collector. We need to make sure we are actively working with it, which is where routines and tasks to monitor and engage with this list really come in. We have a whole section about this in the course because this is really a hot topic, but it's definitely the key to mastering the idea piece. All right, so at this point, if you have even an ounce of realism in you, you might be thinking, okay, this sounds great, but odds are I roll this out and it never actually sticks. My team doesn't use it, I don't use it. Let me break down the team system. This team section is really about how human beings live and interact within the systems we've already talked about. If there is no interaction, guess what? It doesn't matter what we build. We can have the best system in the world, we can use the fanciest project manager, but if we don't have a team that is using that system, it doesn't really matter. So the team system is all about engagement from the very beginning. How do we get team members actively using each of these other pieces in their day-to-day life? How do we make this a habit? How do we make this something we celebrate, that we talk about, that is part of day-to-day conversation? I have a video, which I will link up here, where I actually go through an example of turning process into a part of your day-to-day conversations, and that is exactly what this team system is about. When you're looking to perfect your team system, we want to think about team habits. Team habits might include having call-outs in your agenda where you celebrate people who have updated SOPs. Cultural pieces might include that every time you kick off a project, you mention what processes is this project a part of. Team components might include having training sessions where you explain to your team how you use a certain area. And my favorite way to do trainings is actually a train and do event where you teach them something and then you practice it together. So for example, every September, aka September around here, we host an SOP workshop for my team and also for your team if you want to come. And in that workshop, we teach the best practices of SOPs just to keep everyone fresh on it. And then we practice writing SOPs. So we're not just learning, we are doing and checking things off of our to-do list at the same time. The last thing I'll say about the team system is metrics fall in here. As I talk about in this YouTube video, key metrics are a way to incentivize a certain behavior. And if we want to incentivize using these other systems, well, certainly we could start reporting on them. So something we build out for our clients is a dashboard on people's level of systemization and how time is spent. If we want to encourage our team to start, say, writing SOPs, we could check in during performance reviews and say, hey, you've updated, 20 SOPs since our last performance review. That's awesome. Or maybe that's not enough. But pulling in those numbers and making them a part of the conversation around performance is one of the ways that we can use this team system to really make everything else stick. I want you to picture a reality where all of these pieces are in place, where you have a team of people who know exactly what need to get done, who's going to do it, and when it's going to be done. And you're all aligned on actually using that know what works and what doesn't work, so they're not spending their energy resolving the same problems, that they have a pressure release valve, a place to put shiny objects until they're ready for them, and they have the kind of culture that continuously improves all of the above over time. Now, once you recognize these 4 systems, it feels really obvious. Like, of course, I need these 4 pieces in place to have my team feel calm and focused and aligned and get major things done. The challenge isn't recognizing these. That's just the first step. The challenge is implementing these. How do you get this into your business so it actually sticks? Well, you might build these 4 systems in one business and learn what that process takes one time in your career, and the marketing guru's assistant's assistant might do this 1 or 2 times a year. My small team and I take hundreds of companies every year from chaos-driven to process-driven in the smoothest possible way through our programs. I mean, from major universities that you've probably heard of, to manufacturing firms, to marketing agencies, to e-commerce companies selling candles. I mean, we've seen it all and we know what works and doesn't work. So if you're interested in learning more about our approach, whether you decide to work with us or not, I have a free training in the description below that goes through soup to nuts how we approach this challenge, so that way you can be more informed if you decide to DIY or if you want to work with us and go faster. No matter what, I just want to make sure you take action on this information because that is where the magic happens. And until next time, enjoy the process. Don't listen to her. You cannot do this on your own. You need to hire me and my coaches in order to make this happen.